Lamb. The sun was setting over the hills of Galilee, casting long shadows over the green pastures. A group of shepherds was gathering their flocks, counting sheep as they herded them into safety for the night. Nearby, Jesus sat with his disciples, watching the scene unfold. As the last sheep entered the pen, one shepherd stopped and furrowed his brow. "One is missing," the shepherd said aloud. His companions looked at him in disbelief. That's clear. So God had a purpose in this. As the shepherd said aloud, his companions looked at him in disbelief. "And 99 safe here? Why risk everything for just one?" But the shepherd shook his head. "The one matters," he said firmly. He grabbed his staff and set out into the growing darkness. Jesus turned to his disciples, a glimmer of joy in his eyes. "The kingdom of heaven is like this, shepherd," he said. The disciples leaned closer so their ears could hear. Hell was no place. It was just right in the middle of earth, and blessed was the man that went out to war and returned safe. So Jesus said, "Go back to your family in heaven." Listening intently. Imagine a man who has 100 sheep. If one wanders off, he will leave the 99 on the hills and go to search for the one that is lost. And when he finds it, he will rejoice more over that one sheep than over the 99 that never strayed. In the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that even one of his little ones should be lost. The disciples nodded, understanding the lesson. But Jesus' gaze remained fixed on the distant hills. As they watched, the shepherd returned, his arms cradling a small, trembling lamb. His face was lit with relief and joy as he carried it back to the fold. "See," Jesus said quietly, "this is love, to seek out the lost, no matter the cost, and to rejoice when they're found." The disciples sat in silence, their hearts stirred by the truth of his words. For in that moment, they understood that no one was too far gone, no one too lost, to be found by the Good Shepherd. The carpenter's touch. In a quiet village of Nazareth, a young boy named Benjamin worked alongside his father in their small carpenter's shop. Life had always been simple for Benjamin, but it was also hard. He had been born with a twisted leg, making it difficult for him to run and play with the other children. Though he tried not to let it bother him, he often felt like an outsider. One day the village was buzzing with excitement. A man named Jesus was visiting, a teacher and healer known throughout the land. Benjamin had heard stories about him, how he made the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk. His heart stirred with hope, but he was also afraid. What if the stories weren't true? "Come, Benjamin," his father said, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. "We will go see this Jesus." As they approached the town square, Benjamin saw a crowd gathered around a man with kind eyes and a calm presence. People were shouting, reaching out to touch him, and calling out their needs. Yet, Jesus didn't seem overwhelmed. He looked at each person with deep compassion, as though he saw not just their face but their soul. Benjamin's father guided him forward. "Master," he said, "this is my son. He struggles to walk. Can you help him?" Jesus knelt down to Benjamin's level, his gaze warm and inviting. "What is your name, young man?" "Benjamin," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. "Benjamin," Jesus repeated with a smile. "You are brave to come to me." Then, gently placing his hand on Benjamin's twisted leg, Jesus closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. A warmth spread through Benjamin's body, starting in his leg and flowing outward. For the first time in his life, he felt no pain. "Stand up, Benjamin," Jesus said softly. Hesitant but hopeful, Benjamin rose to his feet. His leg felt strong and straight, as though it had never been weak. The crowd gasped in amazement. "What's the matter?" said Benjamin. "Are you all right?" The crowd gasped in amazement, but Benjamin was too overwhelmed to notice. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at Jesus. "Thank you," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Jesus placed a hand on his shoulder. "Go and walk freely, Benjamin, and remember, your faith has made you well." As Benjamin walked, then ran, through the square, laughter bubbled from his chest. He felt the joy of freedom, not just in his leg, but in his heart. From that day on, he not only walked confidently, but carried with him a story of hope and a reminder of the power of faith in the carpenter's touch.